Dear colleagues, please find your seats. I do know we want to hug and we want to say hello, and it's only natural. But we do need your attention and some silence in the room so that we can continue with our meeting and our proceedings. Thank you for taking your seats. You know, the atmosphere in this room is what our constituency looks like. It's not disciplined, you know, but they are creative, committed beings. And so I am very, very grateful that everybody is joining us today again. Let us remind ourselves, today is the Global Taskforce annual meeting. And we have started already this morning with a discussion of the principles of the Global Task Force, which I feel has been really setting the scene, a very frank, candid discussion on setting the scene. What are we facing? What are the challenges that we have? And what is the agenda that we have before us? So we are going to start the proceedings of the day. We are going to have a few words of welcome by the President of United Cities and local governments, brief words of welcome to the Global Task Force members. Then we are going to go to the call for action that we are making on the SDGs that are under review this year, and the coalitions recalling the coalitions that we have made, and then we will start a discussion on ecological transition led by our ICLEI colleagues. So that's how the morning looks like. Without further ado, I would like to call the President of United Cities and local governments, Mayor Altay from Konya, to please take the floor. Thank you, President, for joining us in this meeting as well.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum değerli Genel Sekreterim. Hepinizi tekrar selamlıyorum. Sizlerle birlikte olmaktan duyduğum memnuniyeti ifade ediyorum. Bugün burada şehirlere, hükümetlere ve insanlara demokrasiye ve gezegenimize önem veren çok taraflı bir sisteme doğru yaptıklarımızı ve yapılması gerekenleri ele almak için toplandık. Küresel görev gücü büyük uluslararası yerel yönetim ağlarını bir araya getirerek yerel ve bölgesel yönetimlerin küresel gündeme katkıda bulunmalarını sağlamaktadır. Geçmişte küresel görev gücü önemli adımlar attı ve başarılar elde etti. Örneğin 2030 gündeminde sürdürülebilir kentleşmeyi ayrı bir hedef olarak tanıtmak için kampanya yürüttük ve yerel yönetimlerin iklim değişikliğiyle mücadeledeki liderliğini vurgulamak için çeşitli girişimlerde bulunduk. Küresel görev gücünün bu başarılarını gerçekleştirmesinde dünyanın en büyük yerel yönetim ağı olarak bizim de katkımız olduğunu buradan bir kez daha belirtmek isterim. 2024 yılında sürdürülebilir kalkınma amaçlarını yerelleştirmek ve yeni kentsel gündemin uygulanmasını desteklemek için çalışmalarımızı yoğun bir şekilde sürdüreceğimizi ifade etmek isterim. Hep birlikte küresel politika süreçlerinde yerel yönetimlerin rolünü güçlendirme ve sürdürülebilir kalkınma için ortak çözümler üretme konusundaki çabalarımızı en üst seviyeye çıkarmak için gayret edeceğiz. Geleceğimizi daha iyi bir hale getirmek için şehirlerden başlayan kalkınma hareketine destek olacağız. Ancak bunları yaparken unutmamamız gereken bazı hususlar var. Şehirler insanlık tarihinin önemli merkezleridir. Ancak son yıllarda yaşanan savaşlar, çatışmalar ve doğal afetler nedeniyle birçok şehir büyük zarar görmüş veya yok olmuştur. Bu felaketler nedeniyle insanlar hayatlarını kaybetmekte, şehir altyapıları ve tarihi miraslar tahrip olmakta ve şehir hayatı durma noktasına gelmektedir. Şehirlerin dokunulmazlığının sağlanması, bu tür felaketlerin etkilerini en aza indirme ve toplumları koruma açısından kritik öneme sahiptir. Şehirler, insanların barınma, çalışma ve yaşam alanlarıdır. Bu nedenle şehirlerin sağlam ve güvenli olması, toplumların refahı ve güvenliği için temel bir gerekliliktir. UCLG olarak bu hayati konuda önemli bir rol üstlenmeliyiz. öncelikle bilinçlendirme ve savunuculuk faaliyetleriyle uluslararası toplumu şehirlerin dokunulmazlığı konusunda farkındalık çalışmalarımızı arttırmalı ve harekete geçmeliyiz. Dünyada şehirleri temsil eden en büyük organizasyon olarak şehirler arası işbirliğini teşvik ederek şehirlerin karşı karşıya olduğu zorlukları birlikte çözmelerine yardımcı olabiliriz. Ayrıca savaş ve doğal afetler nedeniyle zarar gören şehirlerin yeniden inşası konusunda da sorumluluk almamız gerekir. UCLG olarak yerel yönetimlere teknik destek sağlayabilir, uluslararası fonlara erişim konusunda yardımcı olabilir ve en iyi uygulamaları paylaşarak yeniden inşa sürecini hızlandırabiliriz. Geleceğimizi korumak için ise olası savaşları ve afetleri önlemek için daha etkili önlemler almamız gerekiyor. UCLG, şehirler arası diyalog ve işbirliğini güçlendirerek çatışma çözümü ve doğal afetlerle mücadele konusunda daha etkili politikaların gerçekleştirilmesine katkı sağlayacaktır. Sonuç olarak şehirlerin dokunulmazlığının sağlanması, insan hayatının korunması, altyapıların güçlendirilmesi ve sürdürülebilir şehirlerin inşası hayati bir öneme sahiptir. UCLG'nin bu alandaki çabaları daha güvenli ve sürdürülebilir bir gelecek için kritik bir adım olacaktır. Hiç kimseyi ve hiçbir yeri geride bırakmadan kapsayıcı bir bakış açısıyla geleceğimizi şekillendirmeliyiz. Bugün burada bir araya gelerek dünya çapında yerel yönetimlerin önemini vurgulamak ve şehirlerimizin geleceğini şekillendirme sorumluluğumuzu taşımaktan büyük gurur duyuyorum. Kentler, küresel dönüşümün öncüleri, sürdürülebilirlik hedeflerine ulaşmamız için kilit rol oynuyor. Yerel yönetimler olarak iklim değişikliği, eşitsizlik ve diğer küresel sorunlarla mücadelede liderlik etmek, daha iyi bir gelecek inşa etmek için elimizden geleni yapmalıyız. UCLG olarak tüm dünya kentlerini bir araya getirerek deneyim paylaşımını ve işbirliğini teşvik ediyoruz. Bir araya geldiğimizde daha adil, sürdürülebilir ve kapsayıcı bir dünya inşa etme potansiyelimize inanıyorum. Hep birlikte çalışarak gelecek nesillere daha iyi bir dünya bırakma taahhüdümüzü sürdürelim. Bugün burada bulunan bütün paydaşlarımıza bugüne kadar yaptıkları ve yapacakları katkılardan dolayı teşekkür ediyor. Herkese başarılar diliyorum.
Well, thank you very much, President, for confirming that political mandate for our World Organization to continue actively contributing to the work of the Global Taskforce. It's really, really important for us. And I think you have said so many things already about the type of commitments and the reason why we need to do this, which is service those communities, that I think I would immediately go and invite Pablo Fernandez, whom you know from the UCLG team, currently Assistant Secretary General for Partnerships in the World Secretariat, to provide an overview of how we are tackling the year that is coming in, how we are linking the high-level political forum with the summit for the future, to set a kind of a political theme to the discussion that we are going to have in this annual meeting as a Global Task Force. Starting with coalitions, I understand, Pablo. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Emilia, and thank you, everyone. It's a very crowded room, and what we are trying to do today is to give type of the structure of what the annual meeting of the Global Task Force will look like and why we have so many people in the room. And we have so many people in the room, and we have many different constituencies broader than the local and regional governments represented here, because this is where we are in between summits. We are in between the SDG summit of September in 2023 and the summit of the future. And this is relevant because in September, the United Nations, together with different stakeholders, including our own constituency, decided the SDG rescue plan. We are now in this rescue plan. SDGs are not on track, and the the scientists that the Secretary General consulted advised that localization was one of the accelerators to put back in track the SDGs. And for this, what we did from the Global Task Force was to identify high-impact localization synergies that could bring forward this agenda in a different way. And it was being very honest with our own constituency, saying, we are not doing this alone, only local and regional governments, and the way forward is not only in silos, divided by networks of local and regional governments, or even by different types of constituencies. So what our constituency and the Global Task Force brought to the SDG Rescue Plan was this decalogue built on high-impact coalitions to bring forward the 2030 agenda on time. The decision of what was or not a coalition was very complicated, but we wanted to have a specific criteria and that it really meant. We are representing here, we're doing impact in more than half of the world's population with the coalitions that we have. And we're happy to say, Emilia, that we have representation at the principal level of all the 12 coalitions that were presented in September in this room. Most of them are sitting in the table there, and we have many others. So the criteria was that they have to be transformative. This means that they would have to have impact in the territories. I'm saying that we're having impact in more than half of the world's population. They have to be multi-sectoral partnerships, and this means not only local and regional government networks, but UN agencies, different spheres of government, and other type of partnerships. And we need to have impact on synergetic SDGs, that this will go with the discussion of today, which is those SDGs that were identified that are able to trigger the other SDGs to meet the targets. And finally, that they are futures-oriented. This means from UCLG that they have a relation with the UN Pact for the Future, but that they are also attending all the global agendas and the different networks agendas of the GTF. I will go very brief because they will be all speaking today, but just to give you a sense of where we are and who is represented. Of course, we start with the Global Alliance of Care, who is represented today by the Secretary General of the Secretariat of the Global Alliance. That, as you know, we are localizing this Global Alliance of Care. We have, of course, the Cities Alliance, represented today by Greg Monroe, the director of the Cities Alliance, but as well the Global Observatory on Proximities, which is represented today by the Secretariat of the Observatory of the Sorbonne in Paris. We have as well different initiatives such as the Call to Action for Migrants and Refugees that we are doing together with IOM, MMC, UNHCR, who are also represented today. The Cities for All Global Initiative and Campaign, represented today by the General Assembly of Partners. The whole efforts that we are doing for the Culture 2030 Goal Campaign, represented by the International Federation of Library Associations, the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, the Urban Food Systems Coalition, the International Observatory on Participatory Democracy, which is represented by the mayor of Balongo, the Malaga Coalition for Municipal Finance, represented today by UNCDF, attending both online and hybrid, and the Global Commission for Urban SDG Finance. So as you see, we are tackling many thematics. They are all multi-sectoral partnerships. We have all the GTF involved, and we will try to invite them today to the annual meeting to shape the discussions and what we are doing together. This is the rescue plan that we presented for the SDGs, and now the way forward, which means triggering the rescue plan, but as well trying to tackle both the summit of the future and the coming years for the 2030 agenda. You know that this September, the Global Sustainable Development Report was presented. Here, localization was identified, as we said, as one of the things that need to happen to be able to meet the targets. But they also identify different SDGs that will trigger this. And as a matter of total coincidence, in these challenging times, most of these SDGs will be reviewed in 2024 high-level political forum. And not only, but the peace SDG will be reviewed as well in July. So we will be reviewing SDG 1 on poverty, SDG 2 on hunger, SDG 13 on climate, SDG 16 on peace and institutions, and as every year, SDG 17 on partnerships. What we are suggesting the GTF, and also trying to link this with the efforts of the advisory group on local and regional governments, is that we do a high-impact commitment of our leadership with these SDGs, and that we start to organize all our efforts around these targets, trying to tackle the agenda as a whole. So the sessions of today will be divided into these SDGs. We start with the 13, then we have poverty and climate and hunger, and finally we will have 16 and 17. We are also suggesting that, as you know, the deliverable number 3 of the advisory group on local and regional governments of the Secretary General has to deliver a way of engaging in a different way with the United Nations and specifically with resident coordinators. So our proposal, it is that these 4 thematic areas of the SDGs that will be presented shape what we are doing, which is inequalities, climate, institutions, and peace. So the idea is for us, Emilia, and you will be presenting our leadership, doing high impact calls on how we try to shape, but this is how we are organizing the ideas of both the annual meeting of the Global Taskforce and the way that we will get the rescue plan to be alive during these years, the HLPF in 2024, and finally the Summit of the Future. It is a lot of information, many partners, but we will try to go through this the whole day. And just to let you know that it's a crowded room, but it is very well organized, and people are representing many other people.
Thank you very much. That deserves an applause. You know, when you are working, I was saying yesterday, when you are working on systemic, on systemic issues, sometimes it becomes so abstract that it's hard to explain. It's hard to see the progress that you have made, and it's hard to show how the different dots are being connected. And what we are trying to do today is to ensure that there is this more technical discussion on how we are organizing ourselves, which started this morning, and to connect that with the political leadership that we are asking to ensure that it is clearly visible at the United Nations level, the type of commitment and the type of transformation that we can make. And in that way, we connect not only summits, but also we connect processes with action. That is our hope. So I'm going to be calling the leaders to go, and it's really a very brief call, so that we have all agreed and discussed among the members to make these commitments to be able to then kick off the general discussion. And I would like to invite as first Sharon Dijksma, the mayor of Utrecht, and the chairperson of the Dutch Association of Municipalities, and she will be presenting that call for SDG 13 on climate action.
Does it work? Yes, it works. Thank you. Thank you, Emilia. I'm asked to say something about SDG 13. I have to say this is a goal very close to my heart. And also to my reality as a mayor. And I think that you all are aware of the fact that in our urban planning we have to ensure adaptation, we have to take care for extreme weather conditions, raise awareness amongst our citizens that they are prepared for unexpected events. And I think that we, at the same time, should not only work on adaptation when it comes to climate change, but also on mitigation. So I think that many cities can take concrete measures to limit the CO2 emissions in the cities. I think that it was the Secretary General who said that the battle on climate change will either be lost or won within the cities. And if you take that into account, you know that we really need to speed up and fast. So local governments need to do a lot. I think we can do a lot, and we should do even more. And in that, we need also partnership. For instance, with our national governments and with other actors. We need financing, direct access to finance, and also a straight mandate, I would say. And more importantly, work together with all the relevant stakeholders. And to conclude, because I should be brief, I was asked, I would like to ask your attention for a special initiative. And it's really an honor and a privilege to do so, because UCLG has been actively involved with some actors like Bloomberg, ICLEI, I see Yunus and Gino sitting here, and C40 in the call for the so-called endorsement of the CHAMP initiative. And what does CHAMP stand for? It is a coalition for high ambition multi-level partnership. And this initiative, it really aims to ask the commitment of the national governments, of our national governments, to design and implement new and ambitious climate action, but together with us, in cooperation with us, to be involved in this. And I call on you to raise attention for this, so please try to have this discussion with your national government, and let's really make the CHAMP initiative a big success, design new climate plans. And I also would call on UCLG and other parties to ensure that this is monitored globally, and that we claim a space within this COP structure to discuss the multi-level engagement as local governments with our national governments, and that we speak about progress. So we're running out of time at this moment. Scientists has made that very clear. And so do not only talk about it, but please let us take concrete action. I'm perfectly sure that we can do that, we can make the difference, but we need to be bold, and I would urge you to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Dijksma. Mayor Dijksma was a minister at the time when the Paris Agreement was signed, and you know, life is like that. It's like a full circle coming here. We are in good hands for CHAMP. I think our colleagues from ICLEI are ensuring that this takes the shapes that it should, and that the networks are involved as well as it should. So we will hear more about it, I think, in the next session. We are going now to Mayor Philippe Rio, the mayor of Rigny. He is going to speak about our call for SDG 1, no poverty.
Chère Emilia, Madame la Secrétaire Générale, chers collègues, Mesdames, Messieurs, aujourd'hui nous vous proposons de lancer un appel. À la lumière des défis complexes, persistants, multifactoriels posés par la pauvreté dans le monde, à la lumière des stratégies prometteuses ancrées dans les initiatives locales et régionales, et parallèlement à l'attention mondiale accrue portée à la réduction de la pauvreté au sein des forums comme le G20 et à la prochaine révision de l'ODD numéro 1 lors du forum politique de haut niveau cette année, les collectifs des gouvernements locaux et régionaux lancent un appel fort, un appel résolu, un appel déterminé en faveur d'une collaboration multipartite pour lutter contre la pauvreté depuis nos territoires à partir du local. Nous nous engageons à localiser l'ODD numéro 1 pour éradiquer la pauvreté grâce à une participation active au processus d'élaboration des politiques internationales telles que le Forum politique de haut niveau sur le développement durable. Nous appelons solennellement à protéger, à promouvoir les nouveaux services publics essentiels tels que l'alimentation et la nourriture, le logement, l'éducation, les soins de santé, les transports et la connectivité numérique, par le biais d'initiatives concrètes, pragmatiques, menées par les communautés locales afin de réaliser le droit à la ville pour toutes, le droit à la ville pour tous, sans oublier la paix et les droits humains. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Impossible to think of no poverty without peace, without addressing hunger as well. And we are going now to Zero Hunger, SDG 2. Mohamed Sefiani, Mayor of Chefchaouen.
Merci beaucoup, Emilia, chers amis, chers collègues. Permettez-moi de proposer l'appel à l'action de l'objectif de développement durable numéro 2. À la lumière des niveaux inquiétants d'insécurité alimentaire dans le monde et des pratiques promoteuses liées à la sécurité alimentaire et à l'éradication de la faim ancrée au niveau local et régional, ainsi que de la priorité croissante accordée à l'éradication de la faim au sein du G20 et à travers la révision de l'objectif de développement durable numéro 2 lors du High Level Political Forum en juillet 2024, le collectif des gouvernements locaux et régionaux lance un appel à l'action pour une action multipartite pour éliminer la faim par le bas depuis les territoires. Nous nous engageons à localiser l'objectif de développement durable numéro 2 pour éliminer la faim grâce à une pleine et forte implication de la communauté dans le processus d'élaboration des politiques internationales telles que le Sommet des Nations Unies sur les systèmes alimentaires et le Comité des Nations Unies sur la sécurité alimentaire mondiale. Nous appelons à garantir que la fourniture des services publics locaux soit au premier plan dans la lutte contre la faim et en liant les actions des gouvernements locaux régionaux aux actions menées par les communautés pour garantir que la politique contre la faim soit multiniveau et multi-acteurs. Je vous remercie.
I am calling now on Paula Pavón, the prefect of Pichincha, president of Congope, to share the call on SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals.
Gracias. ¿Aló? Gracias, querida Emilia. Un abrazo a todos y todas. Rescatar los ODS, el ODS 17 y particularmente este llamado a la acción me motiva muchísimo. Yo quisiera tomarme un minuto para comentarles que el año pasado en mi país, mediante referéndum, tomamos una decisión muy importante, los ecuatorianos y ecuatorianas. Decidimos dejar el crudo, el petróleo, decidimos decirle no a la explotación petrolera en un parque nacional, en el parque Yasuní y Teté. Y esta es una decisión difícil, un pueblo que necesita recursos económicos para enfrentar los desafíos de desarrollo, tomó en referéndum esa decisión. Y el ODS 17 precisamente nos invita a eso, a revitalizar las alianzas para el desarrollo sostenible. ¿Cómo podemos hablar de alianzas sostenibles si no colocamos a los gobiernos locales y a los gobiernos regionales en primera línea? Por eso, estas alianzas eficaces deben reconocer el papel fundamental que tenemos nosotros, lo que representamos en nuestras sociedades íntimamente conectadas a esas necesidades y a esas aspiraciones. Hoy queremos esta mañana comprometernos a facilitar y promover una gobernanza basada en la democracia, en la solidaridad, en el cuidado de nuestros recursos naturales, en comprometernos con las futuras generaciones. Defenderemos la redefinición de una nueva gobernanza a través de la asociatividad, situando a la ciudadanía, a la comunidad en el centro de los procesos de la toma de decisiones. Nos comprometemos a potenciar todas las voces y a fomentar verdaderas colaboraciones efectivas para poder liberar todo el potencial que tiene el ODS 17 y allanar a ese futuro, allanar el camino para tener un futuro para nuestras nuevas generaciones. Muchas gracias.
And we end these calls with a call for SDG 16. I invite the Mayor of The Hague, Jan van Zanen, to take the floor on peace, justice, and strong institutions.
My name is Van Zanen, that's with a Z, so I'm used to be the last always since I got my swimming diploma. Today there are more conflicts in the world than ever before. In 2023, the number of deathly victims was 14% higher than a year before. The number of violent confrontations rose with 28%. These are not very optimistic figures. As was said yesterday by the representative of Kenya, it is very important to address the root causes of these conflicts. Municipalities have an important role in identifying and solving those root causes. Municipalities have a key role in bringing together communities to create more cohesion at the local level and to prevent radicalization and polarization, to promote peaceful coexistence and living together. We, as local leaders, can and should promote peace, justice, and inclusion. And that's why localization of SDG 16 is so extremely important. And we need to show how the global language relates to our local practice on the ground. And let me particularly highlight the young people. UCLG proposes to create, within the Global Taskforce, a youth advisory mechanism to ensure that the voices of young people are at the heart of SDG 16 localization towards its revision. And let me do it during the 2024 HPLF, the High-Level Political Forum, and the UN Pact for the Future, promoting a structural partnership with the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. Let's also on this subject work together. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much to our political leadership. This is something that we need to discuss, on how to articulate youth is something that we have discussed in the past as well in the mobilization for the ecological transition. Let us think how we can do that. But I think there is a very clear commitment from the leadership in the different networks. Many of them are common to our networks, to find the way forward. Let us go into, after receiving this political mandate and confirmed political vision, let us go into the thematic sessions. We are now in the hands of our colleagues from ICLEI. ICLEI is a founding member of the Global Task Force, one of the sister organizations of United Cities and local governments as well, that has been working longest in facilitating the constituency in different processes, but in particular the process towards COP. So I am very excited to have you with us today in important numbers, and qualitative and quantitative, I would say. Thank you very much, Gino, for bringing your colleagues, Kobe and Yunus, around. Maria Julia from Latin America is also somewhere in the room. We are very excited to have you with us indeed. We are in your hands now for this ecological transition segment. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emilia. And just before we start, the predecessor of UCLG was a founding member of ICLEI. Yula was with us at that time. So we are indeed, our story goes a long time now. And ladies and gentlemen, I think what we have heard from the politicians and local leaders here in terms of the calls, what we heard from Pablo also in terms of the rescue plan that the Global Task Force, UCLG, is trying to set up to rescue basically the SDGs, and from our perspective, from a local and regional government perspective, I think is absolutely crucial to the debates here, but also to our work back home, your work back home. The world is indeed not in a very good shape. We have heard it several times. When it comes to the issues around environmental sustainability, we definitely are not on track in various dimensions, be it in the oceans and water quality, be it on nature, biodiversity and land use, be it, of course, on climate and air quality. All of those are global issues having direct local impacts in each of your cities or regions that you represent. At the same time, whilst we are not doing very well, or whilst these dimensions are not on track, when it comes to local and regional representation and the offerings that we have made over the last, Emilia, correct with me, but I think definitely since 2002 when UCLG was created, the offerings that we have been making on these items, on these agendas, to the United Nations, to national governments, they have advanced. And we are very happy, and I think that is what we will hear also here in this session now, in these various items, and as I said, very difficult ones, we are not on track, but when it comes to the representation, the partnership that we have asked for, we made some progress, and I think we'll hear about that. So let me just start by asking my colleague, Colby Brandt, the Deputy Secretary General of ICLEI. Colby, you have been now working on representing through the LGMA the voices of local and regional governments at the Convention on Biodiversity. Within ICLEI, we have set up a number of programs that help both cities and regions to work together to report on the actions they are taking. We have had, I think, a very successful biodiversity COP, both in Kunming and then in Montreal because of the pandemic situation. And we are moving towards another biodiversity COP this year in Colombia. So perhaps if you could just talk a little bit on what is on our agenda here as a global task force and what would be necessary for actors to actors from the local and regional governments to move us forward, and what are the expectations that we have towards the national governments coming together?
Thank you very much, Gino. This is working. Thank you very much. I've got a few slides. I don't know if they can be put up. Otherwise, we can share them later as well, but I think we've got them. First of all, yes, I think the CBD UN Convention on Biological Diversity is certainly a success story for us. And here you can see behind me, just very briefly, because we don't have a lot of time, I'd like to spend the whole day talking about this. But we are, in fact, with the GTF, the representative for the Rio Conventions and related processes, including the UN Convention on Biological Diversity, where we bring the official voice and ambition to this from this constituency to that COP, or those COPs. And we've now held a very successful 7th summit for subnational governments and cities. And to be honest, that means that's over 14 years, because these COPs only take place every second year. And every time we have seen the ambition grow, and also at every single one of these COPs, we have seen several decisions, formal decisions taken by the 196 parties of that convention. So we have the world of national governments behind these decisions, in fact driving these decisions. And you know, these are some of the historic highlights, but I think the new Global Biodiversity Framework adopted at this Apex Summit, or COP15 in Montreal, called the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. You know, there we could see that 200 leaders, mayors, governors from around the world represented us there at a summit, unprecedented in size and scope, and 300 cities and regions were present there from over 70 countries. The collective efforts over these years, and it's been a journey, 20 plus years of journey, but we have in fact influenced 20, more than 20 CBD actual decisions, United Nations adopted decisions on cities and regions. If we were not there as a constituency, these decisions would also not exist. So it bounds parties to action like never before. And I just encourage you to go through and look at what is happening there and what the opportunities are there for cities and regions to engage. And I want to pay particular tribute to those partners in the room that are walking this journey with us, in particular Regions 4. You've been there all along, but I know that the whole Global Task Force is giving us a mandate, and we invite you, come forward and join us in COP16. We can go to the next slide, please. I only have 2 minutes left, so let's move quickly. This can be shared as well later. So on the next slide, I just want to say that, yes, we've embarked very ambitiously, led by the Mayor of Montreal, Mayor Valerie Plante, who's our Global Ambassador for Biodiversity, initiatives called Cities with Nature and Regions with Nature, which transcends actually above any one of our local interests as networks. It's a network of networks, or it's an initiative that brings the United Nations and all our networks together. And those who are not yet part of Cities with Nature and Regions with Nature, who are in the room today, please talk to us, join us. We shape it together. We create something that transcends each one of our specific interests so that we can serve our cities and regions collectively better and have a better impact at the UN. And I just want to say that the Ramsar Convention, another COP that took place last year, was unprecedented in the number of cities that got UN accreditation for their Ramsar status. So that is unprecedented in any UN system. So we can break through, we can have these breakthroughs in the UN system where decisions can be made. It takes years, it takes a lot of diplomacy, it takes a lot of tenacity, but it can happen. Our next three slides, I'll go through very, very quickly. So the next one really just looks at, and please, you can follow these links. If we can move to the next slide, please. The Plastics Treaty, I just want to say that there is this very important Plastics Treaty, and already, before the treaty is adopted, we already have text. It's bracketed text, but it already refers to subnational governments. And again there, we want to applaud Regions 4 for being with us, but especially also UCLG, ICLEI. We really took hands in Paris at INC 2, well, the preparatory meetings, the second preparatory meeting in Paris, where UCLG led with the city of Paris and a number of others, a whole day focused on cities and local cities and subnational governments. And we are now heading for INC 4 in Ottawa, where we will duplicate that and build on the strength that we achieved in these processes. So please, those interested in plastics pollution, which is really one of the triple planetary crises, please join us in this process. Next slide, please, on water. I think we can move on to the next slide, please. Yeah. On water, not to say much at all, but because I know we're going to have a water intervention, but just to say that we actually are representing this group here on 5 out of the 6 thematic working groups, and they are listed there, and we co-lead the governance, cooperation, and diplomacy working thematic group. We will be in Bali together with UCLG, building on what we've achieved last year at the UN Water Conference, and again, this is something that we really need to embrace much more. I really welcome the words we heard from Metropolis earlier today around the importance of the growing importance of our water and sanitation agenda that we need to embrace as a constituency. And my last slide, I will end off, Gino, thank you very much for your patience, is on the CCD, the Convention on Desertification. Very important also for our climate resilience work, and of course all this works very very, very closely to SDG 13 as well. We will go to yet another COP this year on the UNCCD, and I think it's very important to say that we are taking a lot of action together, and I think if we can spend some time really focusing ahead of that COP in terms of what the GTF, the Global Task Force, collectively wants to take to the table there and get out of it, we are really very eager to partner with you on this. I will end here. Thank you very much, Gino.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kobe. Emilia, I think what we can take away from this here is in these United Nations-led processes, and we'll come to the climate COP a little bit later as well. But I think in our discussions, specifically the advisory group to the United Nations Secretary General, the things we would like to do or not to do at the Summit of the Future, as we discussed also this morning already. I think what you can take away from these is that there are, in certain United Nations processes, very good steps forward that we have achieved in terms of the partnership, the collaboration, the multi-level collaboration between nations and their own domestic, local and regional governments. And I think we should build upon that. One of the things that we need to question or continue to question ourselves, why is it working in some of those thematic related processes and why it is not working at the United Nations General Assembly, Security Council and the other process at the United Nations headquarters in New York. So, but I think from what we just heard, what Kobe was referring to, and thank you very much, Kobe, for that presentation, is that in these global processes and global problems, there is a willingness for advancing in a multi-level perspective. I would like to come to Benjamin Lenz from the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. Benjamin, I hope you can hear us. We can see you. And if all good from your side, please take the floor and give us the updates from the GCOM.
Thank you so much, Emilia. It pains me that I am not there in person with everybody in Barcelona to be part of what was rightfully termed the organized chaos that it is on the ground. Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Hanse, Head of Research and Innovation with the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, the Secretariat, calling you today from our Brussels location. For those of you who aren't as familiar with the Global Covenant, then we represent more than 13,000 cities and local governments who've made commitments to climate and sustainability, representing now more than 1 billion people, highlighting so much of the scale and the opportunity, even in just the initiatives that Kobe mentioned just now, but also the many SDGs that were highlighted by our dear mayors earlier today. And I'm here today on behalf, of course, of our co-managing directors, Andy Deacon and Piero Remiti. 3 key points from our perspective on the Global Covenant side. First, a massive opportunity to build on the incredible work of the Global Taskforce and the LGMA constituency on multi-level governance. And we heard Mayor Dijksma speak earlier about the importance of CHAMP, Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships, as a new novel channel to bring forward enhanced cooperation and coordination between national and subnational governments and make sure that we deliver enhanced ambition on NDCs, on national adaptation plans, on national urban plans, and many of the other strategies that are already in place or need to be put in place in the coming years. Just tactically speaking, because Mayor Dijksma hit all of the best points already, we need to move forward concretely with the right levels of dialogue, which we know we have the right partners in the room today with UCLG and ICLE as well, but also on the technical side, helping build the capacity needed both nationally and subnationally to make that vision of CHAMP, of multi-level governance, a true reality. And partnered alongside that, then the right level of advocacy also on the finance side to make sure that we bring financing that's needed to cities so dearly, especially for multilateral development banks, and make sure they get that direct financing needed to put the projects into the ground and up and running. The second piece that I think is really important in this current context from the Global Covenant side is around knowledge. Many of us here in the room are already aware, as part of the 7th assessment report cycle of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC, there will be a special report on climate change and cities. One of the ways in which we aim to inform that process as much as possible, and it's crucial, is through our Innovate for Cities Accelerator Initiative here at the Global Covenant, again, which we count UCLG, ICLE, and many other partners in the room a part of, whether it's through our technical working group on research and innovation or the broader set of partners that work with the Global Covenant. It really is about elevating the knowledge that's necessary to inform this work, whether that's inclusive of women, of informal settlements, of youth, of knowledge that is based in region, of knowledge that is not in English critically, making sure that we lift up as much of that information, that research as well, that's at the nexus of cities, of climate change science, and of policy innovation, to make sure that we tie as well to the priorities today, rightfully so, of people, of planet, and of government as well. All of this is going to reach a bit of a high this year with the Innovate for Cities conference making its return in September from the 10th to the 12th in Montreal. So great to see the linkages once again with the work that COVI is leading on biodiversity. And there will be, in fact, a focus on biodiversity and on resilience. Also, much more coming out on that opportunity, but we invite all knowledge holders, networks, partners, mayors, other leaders to share that knowledge so that we can co-create and generate the partnerships necessary to move many of these gaps forward and tackle those priorities together. We know no single actor can take this on alone, and that power is encapsulated through this initiative and also through the work of the Global Task Force as we see here today. Last but not least, capacity building and finance. Already mentioned the finance piece, but on the capacity side, then many folks here are aware of the City Climate Finance Gap Fund, which late last year was very thrilled to announce an increase of capitalization up to 105 million euros, making it one of the largest early stage technical assistance funds, all thanks, of course, to our partners at the governments of Germany and Luxembourg, and of course our co-implementers with ICLE, C40, and many others as well, making sure that we get cities to jump the gap from prioritizing their actions to implementing on the ground. Getting shovels in the dirt, as we like to say, is key. And helping them do that with the right knowledge, with the right capacity, and the right resource as well, and the right minds in-house is crucial. All of this, multi-level governance, knowledge, and the capacity and finance needed is crucial, and we look forward to working with many of the partners in the room, UCLG and ICLE first and foremost, along with others, as we move towards a very busy calendar in 2024 and 2025 with the Summit of the Future, with the World Urban Forum, with COP29, and of course, we know everyone's talking about it, COP30 next year in 2025 as well. Thank you so much once again, Gino and Emilia, and I look forward to the rest of the conversation today.
Thank you very much, Ben. Thank you very much, and please do stay with us online if you have a couple of minutes further. I'd like to go to our next speaker, Lauren Sorkin, the Executive Director of Resilient Cities Network. But I think Lauren is not online, but is here replaced by, in person, her colleague. Please take the microphone, and welcome.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm going to speak on behalf of Lauren Sorkin. I'm Álvaro Soldevila. We both work at Resilient Cities Network. I was here last year as well, sharing some updates. So today we are living in a polycrisis reality. That means that we are facing multiple crises at once. They are interconnected as well. And in Resilient Cities Network, we have moved from not only managing risk, but moving also to climate adaptation work. This is why in the past few years, we've been providing capacity building and support to our member cities in 3 topics. These are energy, water, and community resilience. We have several programs and support through cities, and for instance, in energy resilience, there's one interesting program, it's called Urban Power, that is being implemented in Africa. It's in Lagos and Cape Town, and also in Latin America, in Cali and Rio de Janeiro. We are supporting local governments design projects that support the climate transition, also looking at the creation of green jobs, and also enhancing an equitable access to energy. We strongly believe that ending energy poverty is key for development, and this is why we are moving with these projects forward. In Europe, for instance, thanks to EU funded from the European Commission, we also, the cities that we are supporting here and the efforts, it's more focused on climate mitigation. There is a strong commitment from several cities that they want to be climate neutral by 2030. There are several city representatives here that are part of this program, and we work with ICRE as well and other organizations. And it's not only about, it's not a mitigation strategy, it's a change of vision, it's a way of how cities can transform themselves as well. This is happening in Europe. On the water resilience work, we've been, in the past few years as well, we've been working with cities that have been facing severe droughts, like it's happening here in Barcelona and other parts of Europe as well. Mainly in this case, with cities in Africa and in Latin America, especially looking about the future and thinking about what's going to happen in terms of water availability and how can cities adapt to these challenges and threats. And thinking about what are the types of investments that are needed to strengthen the water infrastructure that is, in most cases, are quite inadequate and aging. It's an aging infrastructure. This work also has generated a lot of interest from other cities, and I think it's getting more in the center of our agenda. And this is a request we're getting from our member cities as well. Then on community resilience, we have the assumption that local governments have a specific access to the needs of local communities. So my colleagues are also working in North America, in Europe, I think in Asia as well, working with different local communities in cities, and going through specific scenarios of either flooding or strong heat waves, and how local governments can provide the necessary resources and kind of build the enabling environment for communities as well to develop their own resilience to these challenges. So all this work, we're seeing impact, we are seeing change, we are seeing a different mindset as well within local authorities. But we want to increase and we want to share all these learnings and knowledge among our member cities, and it won't be this type of partnership and collaboration. It's helping even more to share and to raise the awareness of the situation. So thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To take on and to speak on behalf of Lauren, greetings to her. Thank you very much. Let me move now to Catherine Gall from the Global Observatory on Sustainable Proximities for an update. Thank you. Catherine.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Very happy and honored to be here. Thank you to UCLG. I represent the Observatory of Sustainable Proximities, but I also come from a research lab in Paris, and I work with Professor Carlos Moreno. And as you all know, he usually starts his presentation about the work we do by saying, we've accepted the unacceptable. We've accepted to do long commute, to go between homes and works. We've accepted that people don't have access to essential services and live a life that doesn't meet the basic livability conditions. This is really those systemic and challenging difficulties that our team has tackled over some years now that are being addressed through the concept of proximity and access to services. I'm sure you're familiar with the model of the 15-minute city or the 30-minute territory. This was the reason why Professor Moreno started imagining this observatory many years ago, but he was able to create it and co-create it with UCLG, with UN Habitat, and with the C40 cities as a community and also as a center of excellence for this concept of urban proximities. From a research perspective, the observatory is a place where we are developing new knowledge that really starts with implementation and experimentation. Many cities represented maybe in this room are considering and embracing this notion of urban proximities so people can have easy access to their essential needs. So we work neighborhood by neighborhood, and this is building up a body and a repository of knowledge that then can inform national policy, regional policy, and creates really a stream of research and a stream of experimentation. This is what the observatory is aiming at developing. We are now in the second year of activity. This year, in 2024, we are very accelerating the production of knowledge. We will be publishing academic papers. We will also document. There is already a website. You can go on globalobservatoryofsustainabilities.org, and you will see the inventory of the 100 types of projects that have already started in different cities across all the continents, with very local ways of developing the models, but also it's supporting a similar vision, which is we should all be able to have easy access, which means walking, cycling, without being dependent from carbonated transportation, to where we live, where we work, where our children go to school, the consumption, the culture, and the health. Access to health services, for example, and access to equitable housing is one of the very major axes of research for us. So we are very honored to actually contribute to one of your initiatives, which is the number 3, expanding access to quality and equitable public and public services, and I'll be back. I'll be back reporting and with the colleagues from UCLG and others about the progress. We meet you guys several times during the year through different events, and I'm sure we meet also as well in the local cities and neighborhoods where we actually work, combining research activity through project-based research, but also publishing. I heard before the IPCC report, one of our goals, we are already mentioned, the 15-minute city model is one of the concepts that actually the IPCC is recommending, is mentioning actually as a way to really have an impact on climate change, but it's also true for actually social justice and equitable sort of developmental activity. So this is what the observatory is about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much, Catherine, for the update. Welcome, Firdaus. I would now like to give the floor to Natalia Uribe, Secretary General of Regions 4, who is with us online. Good morning, Natalia. If you can hear us.
Good morning. Yes,
Good morning.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Lovely to join you today on behalf of Regions 4, and really sorry to miss the in-person experience this year. The 2024 Global Risks Report is clear. Top 4 greatest threats to humanity in the next 10 years are all environmental. Extreme weather events rank first in the long term and second in the short term, and biodiversity loss and ecosystem collapse, one of the fastest deteriorating global risks for the next decade. Building resilience with people and nature must be a priority. And we are at a critical decade of action in which every year counts. And the UN Climate Change Executive Secretary has said that the action that we take in the next 2 years will shape how much climate-driven destruction we can avoid over the next 2 decades and far beyond. So to address the critical and interdependent challenges we face today, we must embark urgently on an ecological transformation that we believe must acknowledge the interdependencies between the climate, biodiversity, and SDG agendas. And in this endeavor, subnational governments are uniquely positioned to connect the dots and to respond through integrated territorial approaches. So Regions 4, we will continue to demonstrate this and to elevate the voice of regional governments within the UNFCCC as key partner of LGMA and the Race to Resilience. We will build on COP28 that saw historic recognition of subnational governments with important milestones like our contributions to the global stocktake, to the global goal on adaptation, the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund, the first local climate action summit, the launch of the CHAMP initiative that we've listened earlier, but also that COP28 made substantial strides in recognizing nature as a crucial ally in the fight against climate breakdown and to enhance resilience. So looking ahead this year, we approach key events like the 6th United Nations Environmental Assembly, Biodiversity COP16, the Summit of the Future, the Climate COP29. We will continue working with LGMA, Global Taskforce, and other partners for increased representation, for special statutes for the self-organized constituencies of local and regional governments before the UN, and we can learn from existing experience like the Advisory Committee on Subnational Governments to the Convention on Biological Diversity that we coordinate. We will continue to work to strengthen multi-level governance. We have an event, for example, tomorrow on vertical integration, multi-level governance on adaptation, together with IISD. We will continue to work to foster integration, aligning biodiversity, SDGs, and climate through our events, community of practices, and initiatives like Regions Voice, Regions with Nature, Regions Adapt. We are working with the European Committee of Regions towards a global Green Deal, harmonizing global frameworks for climate, biodiversity, and SDGs. We'll be having a discussion on this Thursday as well. Financing has been referred to earlier. Less than 10% of climate finance from global climate funds was spent on local action. We believe it's key to enable direct access to funds to some national governments. And we see opportunities through the new Loss and Damage Fund. And we will be calling for increased access, but also showing leadership and how regions are developing interesting finance solutions. For example, Catalonia has a local carbon tax that is used to finance a nature fund and climate adaptation. We will continue to support adaptation efforts through our initiative Regions Adapt and collaborating with the EU Mission on Adaptation, different projects to make research more accessible to regions and communities, to support resilience building actions, and also in Francophone Africa through the management of natural protected areas to advance both biodiversity and climate targets. Reporting, encouraging the commitment and use of reporting platforms like Regions with Nature, Race to Resilience. And last but not least, of course, leaving no one behind, mainstreaming the principle of climate justice and equality in achieving the different agendas. Our latest report on climate justice shows that regions are committed and are already working to leave no one behind in the ecological transition. So just to wrap up, we're very pleased to continue working with all of you this year to show how some national governments are already spearheading the necessary transformations for a sustainable and equitable future for the present generations, but also those to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia, and also on behalf of COBI, I think we are very happy to hear what you have said in terms of the activities for Regions for this year, and from our side, from ICLE, we're very happy to continue that effective and successful collaboration also this year, in particularly towards the various COPs, but definitely on the biodiversity one. Thank you very much, Natalia, and please do stay with us if your agenda allows. Thank you. I would like to go to Laureen Yard, who is the advisor at the World Water Council, and I think your colleague Andre may be either in the room or online with us as well. He wants to.
Andre Viola is not here.
Okay.
I think he's online.
Okay, he's online. Good. But I give the floor first to you. Is that all fine? Yeah. Okay.
Donc, bonjour à tous. Je suis donc Lorraine Yard du World Water Council. Je suis chargée d'initiative politique donc, pour l'organisation du Forum mondial de l'eau. J'ai une présentation PowerPoint à diffuser si on la retrouve. Donc, je voudrais vous présenter tout d'abord, voilà, la slide suivante s'il vous plaît. Je voudrais vous présenter tout d'abord le Conseil mondial de l'eau, qui est une organisation qui a été donc créée en 1996 et qui est une plateforme internationale multi-acteurs avec un peu plus de 250 organisations membres venant de un peu plus aussi de 50 pays à travers le monde, à travers les différents continents. Donc, slide suivante, s'il vous plaît. Les activités du Conseil s'articulent autour de 3 principales champs d'action, donc qui est de mobiliser l'action politique et l'hydrodiplomatie, de promouvoir la sécurité de l'eau et d'organiser tous les 3 ans donc, le Forum mondial de l'eau. Donc, le Forum mondial de l'eau est organisé tous les 3 ans avec un pays hôte. Donc les participants sont des organisations internationales, des gouvernements, les autorités locales bien sûr, les universités, les acteurs de la société civile et autres représentants du secteur privé. Slide suivante. Donc on en est à la 10e édition du Forum mondial de l'eau. La première avait eu lieu à Marrakech en 1997. La dernière à Dakar. Depuis, donc, le forum a parcouru un petit peu le monde pour donc, la prochaine session qui aura lieu à Bali du 18 au 25 mai de cette année. Slide suivante. On a 3 processus principaux donc, pour le forum qui sont interconnectés. Le processus politique, le processus thématique et le processus régional. Donc, sur la slide suivante, on voit les différents sujets thématiques du forum. Donc, il y a 6 sujets qui ont été définis. La sécurité de l'eau et la prospérité, l'eau pour les humains et la nature, la réduction et la gestion des risques de catastrophes, la gouvernance, la coopération et l'hydrodiplomatie, le financement durable de l'eau et enfin la connaissance et l'innovation. Donc, ces sessions donc, thématiques seront au nombre environ de 150 et représentent donc une part importante du forum et des sujets de fond qui tournent autour de l'eau. Slide suivante. Donc, le deuxième processus qui est le processus régional. Qui traitera donc autour de 5 grandes régions, la Méditerranée, donc coordonnée par l'IME, les Amériques avec la Banque interaméricaine de développement, l'Asie-Pacifique et également donc l'Afrique avec l'AMCO. Donc on aura un petit peu plus de 60 sessions régionales également. Et enfin, sur la slide donc, suivante, le processus politique avec 5 segments différents. Donc, le segment des chefs d'État, où un peu plus de 36 chefs d'État ont été invités donc, à participer au forum de Bali. Le segment ministériel en coordination avec l'UNESCO, avec notamment donc, une déclaration ministérielle qui est en cours de préparation. Donc, on a eu des précédentes réunions en janvier donc, à l'UNESCO pour préparer donc, une première version du projet et des réunions suivantes donc, prévues le 28 et 29 mars. Voilà, les réunions ont réuni déjà un peu plus de 60 délégations ministérielles et environ 150 participants. Donc on a une grosse mobilisation pour ce prochain forum. Il y a également le segment donc, parlementaire avec l'IPU, donc l'Union interparlementaire, et environ 350 parlementaires provenant d'un peu plus de 100 pays qui seront également mobilisés. Le 4e segment est le segment des bassins, coordonné par l'INBO, qui permettra de lancer notamment un programme de jumelage. Et enfin, le dernier segment qui nous intéresse aujourd'hui, qui est donc le segment des collectivités locales et régionales, donc coordonné par l'UCLG. Slide suivante. Il y aura également donc des panels de haut niveau qui permettront les discussions entre ces différents processus, voilà, entre les experts et différents représentants politiques, donc qui seront au nombre de 16 sessions. Slide suivante. Donc c'est le le programme prévisionnel du forum, donc du 18 au 25 mai, comme on l'a dit, et une cérémonie d'ouverture qui aura lieu le lundi 20 mai matin, une ouverture de l'exposition dans l'après-midi, et une journée donc dédiée aux collectivités locales qui aurait lieu le mardi 21 mai. Voilà, donc dernière slide s'il vous plaît. Donc on compte sur votre mobilisation pour participer donc, à la Global Taskforce sur l'eau. Il y aura également une communauté de pratique et donc le forum qui sera un moment d'échange pour aborder tous ces sujets. Merci.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. I think we have the member of the Council of Aude, Mr. André Viola, with us online.
Oui.
Okay. Bienvenue. On vous donne quelques minutes, s'il vous plaît, pour votre intervention.
Oui, merci. J'espère que vous m'entendez bien. Je m'excuse de ne pas pouvoir être parmi vous. J'ai eu l'occasion plusieurs fois d'évoquer ce sujet important de l'eau et de l'ODD6 au niveau de CGLU. Sujet important en tant que tel, mais aussi parce qu'il touche, on l'a vu tout à l'heure, d'autres ODD tels que l'éradication de la pauvreté, la question de la santé ou bien encore la question de l'égalité femmes-hommes. Le congrès de CGLU de Daejeon en 2022 nous a permis d'adopter une motion commune qui insistait sur le rôle fondamental des autorités locales en matière de gestion de l'eau. Et depuis, eh bien, nous avons, par exemple, l'année 2023 qui a été une année cruciale pour nous, avec la conférence des Nations Unies sur l'eau, une première depuis 1977. Et lors de cette conférence, plus de 200 autorités locales ont participé et ont fait entendre leur voix, exprimant le souhait de voir pris en compte les revendications des collectivités en matière de gestion de l'eau. En 2022, nous avons signé un partenariat avec le Conseil mondial de l'eau qui nous laisse une place importante dans le cadre du Forum mondial de l'eau. Ça vient d'être dit à l'instant par Lorraine, et j'invite moi aussi, bien évidemment, l'ensemble des autorités locales, membres de la Taskforce, de CGLU, à participer nombreuses à ce Forum mondial de l'eau qui nous laisse une place aux côtés des parlementaires, des États, pour exprimer notre position. Et puis, au-delà, il y aura également au mois de septembre, autour du sommet de l'avenir, un One Water Summit organisé par la France et le Tadjikistan en partenariat. Là aussi, il est attendu de la part des collectivités territoriales la présentation d'actions concrètes menées sur le terrain d'innovation pour lutter contre le stress hydrique. Et malheureusement, beaucoup de régions dans le monde sont concernées, même des régions qui étaient situées en zone tempérée, comme par exemple Barcelone, qui est en état d'urgence depuis quelques jours sur ce sujet de l'eau potable. Et puis enfin, et j'en terminerai par là, nous avons acté lors du dernier bureau de CGLU la création d'une communauté de pratiques que j'aurai le plaisir de coordonner et qui nous permettra de travailler tous ensemble à la fois pour préparer ces différents événements, et il y aura d'autres conférences des Nations Unies dans les années à venir sur ce sujet spécifique de l'eau qui a été pris en compte aussi lors de la dernière COP, et puis pour ensemble, entre nous, échanger des bonnes pratiques. Donc, depuis 2022 et notre dernier congrès, les choses se structurent autour de cet important ODD numéro 6. Et donc, je vous appelle toutes et tous à vous mobiliser pour participer à ces différents événements. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, André. Viola, merci. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to come to our last speaker of this session. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Yunus Arikan, who is the Global Director for Advocacy at ICLEI. And Yunus, perhaps what I would like to ask you is to specify particularly achievements that we have made at the COP in Dubai a couple of months ago, 3 months ago in December last year, and the impacts that this may have for this year, and in particularly for the COP on climate in Baku, but also in Brazil at COP 30. Not too long, but we are in time. Firdaus, you agree with me? So, but go ahead, Yunus.
Thank you, Gino. I'll try to respond to your request. Actually, I've prepared 3 slides. One is about what was the outcome of Dubai, both in terms of global process and for LGMA and multi-level action. The second slide I prepared especially for us to recap what we have been in these processes for more than 30 years. Actually, it would be fantastic complementary to what Emilia was saying in the beginning in the morning, that what we are achieving in this space is not overnight. It takes time. It takes really building brick by brick the wall or a new system that we are building. And I will conclude our vision towards the next couple of years. And of course, I think that's also interesting. We started with Mayor Dijksma. We started with SDG 13. We are ending up back into climate. If you look at the United Nations system, this is discussed through a convention. In the hierarchy of diplomacy of the United Nations, it's one of the lowest in terms of its impact, in terms of legal binding impacts. But the way we are facing the challenges of climate change, the way we are trying to confront and change our dependency on fossil fuels, the way we are interacting our industrial and social values and our interaction with the nature is so huge that it is on its own on par to the discussions about SDGs. And we have heard if we are able to win this battle towards building a new climate-friendly civilization, we will also make huge progress on SDGs. And that's one of the biggest realities that we are facing over these years, that the world is starting to have this dichotomy of SDGs world and climate world that we have seen in New York. But with Dubai, I think we are making the bridge now. And the best bridge on climate and SDGs is at the local and subnational level. That's why this community is so powerful. So let's go for the first slide. This COP, this climate conference, was one of the most difficult ones. It was huge expectations in terms of loss and damage and global stocktake and dependence on fossil fuel. And there were huge concerns. The way it was really hosted, the leadership. Let's be frank. We are always easy to criticize the failures, but I think this time we should also be frank that this was one of the most successful in terms of many, many elements, and in particular multi-level action. And this was a collective success. So the presidency, the UN world, but we have played a huge role, so we have to take the pride of it. So I'd like to underline 3 points. Why COP in Dubai was remarkable and has a positive legacy. It was the most ambitious. The topics that renewable energy, loss and damage, transition from fossils, these were topics that were never being agreed, and now they are in the official decisions. And we have resulted also a process towards Belém, as you mentioned. So it's a 2-year process without any interruption, will continue. The second, it was the most inclusive. The way the presidency have invited from the Global South, from the stakeholders, from indigenous communities, and local action, at the start of the summit, World Climate Action Summit, with Local Climate Action Summit, equal to its vision, and the way it was developed into bringing the discussion of climate to nature culture, health. These are the topics that really are now much more on the topic, and it's in the legal decision, so that's why it is more important. And finally, why we are so excited about COP28, because we had initiatives on CHAMP, we will discuss about it, but more importantly, we have made the bridge between the urban and climate ministerial, the CHAMP initiative, to the decisions and to multi-level action and urbanization pavilion, which is our home in this blue zone in the negotiation space. Let's remember this is also for the first time we have had so many references, including a paragraph which is urging the subnational and multi-level collaboration. So in that sense, the LGMA also demonstrated its power of unity and its power of diversity by making all these connections, initiatives from UN, initiatives from other actors, but being in the front line of making these bridges. The next slide is, in fact, we are saying that Dubai has closed doors of an era. In fact, it closed the doors of 30 years of work. In that sense, we have made also our changing of our engagement in this process. We were discussing in the 1990s, there were really a very few recognition and there was not an official progress. In 2007, towards Copenhagen, when the UN decided to change a new climate regime, we said that it should be different, and we kicked off the local climate roadmap. We had new actors, we had built this together, recognition, engagement, empowerment. We had faced how Copenhagen had a failure, but it was us who did not give up, who said that we will protect multilateralism. And we built a new process towards a Paris Agreement, and there we achieved the first recognition. And if you look at the last row of this slide, since Paris Agreement, it's a plethora of initiatives, the IPCC reports, the GCOM as we have seen. This is the dialogues, the Talanoa dialogues. We are all saying that these are result of our recognition so that we can make the past make the future in a better way, so that when the first phase of Paris Agreement is concluded, we can say that the second phase, starting from this year onward, will be different because we have lessons learned, we have built recognition, and we have official mandates, and we can build it further. The third slide now, in that sense, how are we building this? We have been discussing the CHAMP initiative. Once again, it is a commitment of national governments. It is a success of our efforts to let them commit. So it's not anymore asking cities to commit for climate neutrality or adaptation. It is for the first time nations saying that I will work with the local and regional governments to bring new climate action plans. This has never happened before. Obviously, the success will not be just our celebration in Dubai, but the real success, whether they will honor their commitments, whether they will go back home to talk to your mayors, to talk to your governors, saying that I signed this up, and now it's time to implement. So that's why the implementation process is coming. But the second point, it was a discussion with our colleagues saying that whatever happens in the UN, we are facing serious challenges. We have our own channels. We have worked on the local stocktake process last year. We have used the town hall dialogues, and the process of now bringing the town hall discussions to COP in a more innovative way is the second thing that we will be working on, so that we will make sure that you don't have to travel to COPs, you don't have to pay all these things, but from your town halls, we can build the connection to global COPs. And that was exactly one of the things that we have worked with the youth community worked together with us, making this experience, and so that we can offer this as an innovation to our work. So in that regard, this is concluding my remarks. So over these next couple of months, we will be working with our working groups. We have improved our topics. We have now assigning coordinators of each of these themes. We are making sure that we follow the negotiations, like loss and damage, like just transition work program and others, but we will also continue to work on action on the ground, with the high-level champions, with the town hall, so that we make the bridge between all these processes. And as mentioned by my colleague Benjamin, we are now in the phase of the first spatial report of the scientific community on cities. This was an achievement since 2016. This year it will be the kickoff, the scoping process will start, and this will take us 2 years' time, so that we have to be well prepared for this. In that regard, our roadmap to Belém is prepared to be announced. We have enjoyed last year how we have built this together, so many endorsements from Global Taskforce and others. We will make the similar exercise in Sao Paulo at the ICLE World Congress, so that by the time we reach to June, we will announce our position so that we will be clear about what to do in Belém and how we will make use of Baku and others. In that sense, we will also experience another new model. This will be part one of the Urban 20 Mayors Summit, so that will be also bringing us closer to each other. In that regard, the climate space is getting closer and closer to be the inclusive action that we have to invest, and we have to be saying that we are honoring our commitments and that we don't have any other option but to work on it and to work through multi-level collaboration. I would like to finish in the sense that those colleagues, we are of course with the UCLG's leadership and staff and all the colleagues, we're working on it, but we have, if you go to the next slide, annual monthly webinars, we have monthly bulletins. This is hoping that we can keep each other connected and keep you informed so that you can also be part of this process. And our last slide, I know in the morning you have developed a fantastic visualization of our agenda, but climate space also has a number of elements. We will also work with you so that we are collectively uniting these agendas, making the synergies, and we can make sure that local and multi-level action is the hope for the future, the beacon of hope that the world needs us, because except climate change, there is really this notion that there's nothing that can combine us. Therefore, I think the motivation from here is extremely valuable so that we build our work towards the future more effectively. Thank you, Gino.
Thank you. Thank you, Yunus. One sentence from my side, CHAMP, it was already in the call, I think, on SDG 13 this, at the beginning of this session by Mayor Dexma was raised. I think CHAMP is essentially a commitment from national governments to speak with their sub-national governments on the next nationally determined contributions. So it means actually the climate targets of every nation that needs to be submitted until 2030 by 2025 at COP30 in Belém. And I would like to invite all of the leaders of the national local government associations that are here in this room or that are listening to the debates here at UCLG to take up that CHAMP initiative and to go to the national governments to say, well, how are you going to now engage with sub-national governments domestically and really go to the ministries there. And I think that can be one of the elements as well in preparation to the Summit of the Future in September, that we can push domestically, not only in the headquarters or the various places of the United Nations conventions and events, but also domestically. I think CHAMP in that sense is really also not only an expression of SDG 13, but also of SDG 17, which is about partnerships. With that, and I look to my colleagues, Firdaus, I know that we are just in time with the various statements that have been made and updates. So we can, of course, close here, but I would like, if you agree to, just to, if there are, a couple of minutes still, if there are some questions or comments from the floor, and then we would end and provide people with a necessary break thereafter. Are there any particular comments or questions from the floor? Great. Firdaus, I see that people are just wanting to have a break, and I think we should help them to get that break. So thank you very much, Firdaus. Thank you, Emilia. Thank you, Pablo, for helping setting up this first session of the day. Thank you to all of the speakers, also those that are online. Thank you very much for making the time. And then I give it over to Firdaus. Is there any technical announcements to be made? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Gino, and thank you to all the speakers for making so enriching this segment on ecological transition. UCLG is so committed with the LGMA, and we have been really involved in all the activities and the thinking, and we do appreciate the work done by ICLEI on the LGMA, and we thank you for that and for your leadership. And we are ready to continue until the COP13. Quickly, maybe a recall. I would like my colleagues to put the slide, a quick recall as we are preparing the survey on localization. And we would like to recall that we are waiting for all of you to respond to this survey on localization and ensure that we are getting and gathering the maximum of answers from you all for the HLPF reports. Please don't hesitate to enter this QR link. And please fulfill this survey. It's good for the GTF, but it's good for all of us to ensure, as we were hearing this morning, we need to make all the efforts locally efficient. And this is what I would keep from the whole conversations that we have, locally efficient for the citizens and for our territories and nature. So please don't hesitate to enter. We do encourage you to enter this survey and answer to it. And that will be the ending point of this segment. We would like to invite you for lunch, at the first floor, and we will be back. In after Emilia at 2.
We will be back at 2.
At 2.
Yes.
We will be back at 2. And happy to have you back here. Please stay with us.
Thank you, Gino. Thank you, ICLEI. Thank you, everyone.